Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
Other possible routes have been offered, though, for Igor Novikov, astrophysicist behind the 1980s theorem known as the self-consistency principle. Time travel is possible within certain boundaries. Novikov argued that any event causing a paradox would have zero probability. It would be possible, however, to affect, rather than change, historical outcomes if travelers avoided all inconsistencies. Averting the sinking of the Titanic, for example, would revoke any future imperative to stop it from sinking. It would be impossible. Saving selected passengers from the water and replacing them with realistic corpses would not be impossible, however, as the historical record would not be altered in any way. A final hypothesis, one of unidentified provenance, reroutes itself quite efficiently around the grandfather paradox. Non-existence theory suggests exactly that. A person would quite simply never exist if they altered their ancestry in ways that obstructed their own birth. They would still exist in person upon returning to the present, but any chain reactions associated with their actions would not be registered. Their historical identity would be gone. Since the Vronia-eating chimps were discovered, more evidence has emerged suggesting that animals often eat things for medical rather than nutritional reasons. Many species, for example, consume dirt, a behavior known as geophagy. Historically, the preferred explanation was that soil supplies minerals such as salt, but geophagy occurs in areas where the earth is not a useful source of minerals, and also in places where minerals can be more easily obtained from certain plants that are known to be rich in them. Clearly, the animals must be getting something else out of eating earth. Following that observation, Dr. Engel is now particularly excited about how knowledge of the way that animals look after themselves could be used to improve the health of livestock. People might also be able to learn a thing or two, and, indeed, already have done so. Geophagy, for example, is a common behavior in many parts of the world. The medical stalls in African markets frequently sell tablets made of different sorts of clays, appropriate to different medical conditions.
When we study the pronunciation of a language over any period of a few generations or more, we find there are always large-scale regularities in the changes. For example, over a certain period of time, just about all the long la vowels in a language may change into long lat vowels, or all the pound consonants in a certain position, for example, at the end of a word may change into p consonants. Such regular changes are often called sound laws. There are no universal sound laws, even though sound laws often reflect universal tendencies, but simply particular sound laws for one given language or dialect at one given period. For many environmentalists, the world seems to be getting warmer. As the nearest country of South Polar region, New Zealand has maintained an upward trend in its average temperature in the past few years. However, the temperature in New Zealand will go up 4 degrees Celsius in the next century. While the polar region will go up more than 6 degrees Celsius, the different pictures of temperature stem from its surrounding ocean, which acts like the air conditioner. Thus, New Zealand is comparatively fortunate.
Culture plays an even bigger part in the life of killer whales. Nowhere is this more obvious than along the northwest coast of America, where killer whales are split into two distinct populations, residents and transients. They live in the same stretch of water, but they don't mingle. In effect, they belong to two quite separate cultures. Yeltskspris small logo residents live in stable groups, or pods, made up of 2 or 3 mothers and their offspring, perhaps 20 whales in all.
In Australia, the Great Barrier Reef is protected by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority and is the subject of much legislation, including a Biodiversity Action Plan. Inhabitants of Aus Island, Manus Province, Papua New Guinea, have followed a generations-old practice of restricting fishing in 6 areas of their reef lagoon. Their cultural traditions allow line fishing, but not net or spear fishing. Their result is both the biomass and individual fish sizes are significantly larger in these areas than in places where fishing is unrestricted.
We now know that elephants can respond to warning calls in the air, but can they detect signals transmitted solely through the ground? To look into that matter, the research team designed an experiment in 2002, which used electronic devices that enabled them to give out signals through the ground at Mashara. The outcomes of our 2002 study revealed that elephants could indeed sense warning signals through the ground, O'Connell Rodwell observes.
There is some uncertainty about the exact date of the earliest 6-string guitar. The oldest one still in existence, which was made by Gaetano Vinaccia, is dated 1779. However, the authenticity of 6-string guitars alleged to have been made prior to 1790 is often suspect, as many fakes have been discovered dating to this era. The early 19th century is generally accepted as the time period during which 6-string guitars began taking on their modern shape and dimensions. Thus for nearly 200 years, luthiers, or guitar makers, have been producing versions of the modern acoustic guitar.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.